Alright, folks, welcome back. It is actually Tuesday. I totally forgot that yesterday was reset day. So, this is our 9th week of the Neverwinter upkeep for Red Harvest Part 2, right? We'll get right into it. Pretty standard. We only have to do the 3 things this time because we have a activities credit this time. I read over some things, more on that later. Or like after the stream, after the daily weeklies commentary this time around. I made mention that I was gonna look at whatever relevant feedback that they were collecting for myself personally, and that had to do with the DPS side of things. And then for the very last week, week 10, which is coming up, well, I'll take a gander at the tank related stuff, which is the majority of commentary, really. So let's do our first 3 things very quickly. These are the only 3 things we have to do, which I enjoy doing because they're far more dynamic. We turn in our weekly activities for the 25, then off we go, right? Let's do our burn first. Our escape. Toros. Toros. Okay. Say hello to Enebrola. Fairly quick today. A bit more yappy next week, the very last week, to close up our Red Harvest 2. Some future seeking stuff. Up those guys. Run. Okay. Excuse me. Pick out the eyeball guy. Pick an eyeball guy. My middle button didn't go off, so sitting here holding on to that. Sorry, I had the timer on that. That guy just keeps blocking. The heck, dude. Okay. Alright. Off we go. Takes us back in here. And we go to our new location. Iron Forge. This. We're gonna do bottom first. Which is a changing room. Get rid of the cube because the cube will interrupt us. Okay. Alright, and then we have the hangout because patch did something. There was a patch. That's why it took me like a minute before starting. But because there was a patch, then this is gonna hang up on the first time. The patch was interesting. It's kind of related. We'll talk about that afterwards. It's not relevant to me, but it will be relevant to the Discord stuff that I have been reading. Touch the door. Nothing happens. Go to the succubus. Okay. Then we go west to the souls. Now we go this way. I thought that leads to right next door to the sacrificial guys, but no. It's after this. We hit the light column. And we go stop here quickly to liberate the souls. Talk to the guy. Pop him very, very fast. Oh, or hit it too early. That's fine. Have them leave. Now we double back to the columns. That leads that back up to the middle section. As much as I like seeing the entrance of your mount as an animation, I would love to see the mount come in as you're moving. You know, kind of like a horse galloping by and you're already moving in that direction situation and getting on, as opposed to getting stopped dead and locking you into an animation position like that. Goes a little bit more phonetic. Okay, so now we head on down here. We'll go this way. See what happens. Lowers our distance to be able to get to the temple. Touch this. Get rid of those guys. Okay. Grab these three. through, grab the holders. Start with this one right here. Wrap around here, touch this quickly. That guy might attack us, but that's fine. Alright. Cut out. Do this. Oh, this actually gets us back up. We still need the purple thing, so that's kind of a weird path. Yeah, not too fancying this double backing. Now I'm lost. Dang. Does this go back? Oh no. The purple thing is at the top. Yeah, no, that's not the greatest. Oh, actually, not that bad. If it goes up here, then we go over here. It can work. This is the purple. I just lost my bearing. Okay. Alrighty. I got those three. Oh, there's no way to go back around to these guys. Okay. Push the cauldron. Okay. Oops. Left, not a right. Starting to sound like an episode from Fallout or something. Mixing left with right. Alright, so we touch the wall, touch the door. Now we go pop some peeps. Okay. Go in. Alright. Okay. Touch the amulet. Off we go. Out. Time to go to the Dream Vault. Here we go. Talk to Valkyria. Valkyria, or how about that? Over, touch this, that. What? Heck. I can Valendra. Seriously. Please. Right. Yep, that happens. Quality. Oh yeah, this happens too. You have to be at the top, or else it just like doesn't, not an incline. Tells you a lot about how targeting works. On inclines. Okay, so we already tried finding a way, but this is real reliable. What? Whoa. It's not that reliable. What? I went one too far. Okay. Try again. Please. Okay. Alright. Acario. Alright. Valendra again. Alright. Up and away. Oh, it only goes up once, huh? Interesting. Okay. All right, in we go. Actually, this isn't fairly comfy looking place. Oh, what? Okay. Go in. Beep boop, beep boop. Okay. And that should be it. It should take us to the front entrance. Right, and we turn into 3 and we get our 100. Oh, this way. Right. Here we go. 90. Right. I'm not even convinced. Like, I don't even know, honestly, what the motivation to do this is fairly minimal. How is this locked? Oh, I guess we would need to... Anyways, so I need to... Yep. So, anyways, let's chill by the fire, right? So there was a patch. There was some patch notes. That's a wrap for our week 9, right? There was a patch. There was a major complaint, or maybe a really consistent consensus of the idea of this particular resource, and one of the limited resources were these. I'm guessing these dust. Let me pull up the look here. So there was a recent patch notes, and it did talk about the dimensional dusk and the Thayan research tokens. And there was a lot of chatter about, hey, you know, if we're gonna collect these things and we're using a character, there's gonna be a lot of leftover resources and migrating resources when you're using multiple characters. So there's got to be a way to trade them so that you can use it on other characters, right? And I've been talking about the whole balance between the idea, the philosophy behind a free-to-play model, right, or like a live service model versus a serialized release dealing with like expansions and whatnot. And Neverwinter is kind of caught in the middle, like it's bridging two things. And one of the concerns about live service models is the idea that when your game time increases, it deals with playing other characters, right? Playing other classes. Neverwinter still has the really half measure. There was a consistent push to make it so that the things you earn are cross class. So you're really playing an account and not a class or a character. You're more playtime increases with the variety of accessibility to your classes. So this was one of the principal narratives behind the new update. First, they did have the complaint where to upgrade the artifacts to Celestial, the reduction of the tokens required, because that's what basically extended the life of this particular module by a substantial amount. It was a rate limiting one. And then secondly, and of course most importantly, you could trade down basically. So 75% to 50 ratio, basically you lose like you lose 30%, right? But it allows you to transfer the dimensional dusk, not the Thayan research tokens, interestingly enough, but you can trade the dust between your other characters, right? And this, in my opinion, would be a live service, pro live service move. Individuals who have, in my opinion, higher uptime play on average than someone who's like a performance based or serialized based. They would play with their DPS, they would get what they want, and then they go, as opposed to like consistently playing for the act of having the experience of all the other classes and whatnot. So with that said, that's kind of where I'm going with this. Would be the segue into what the Discord had about the recent post. So there were feedbacks they were collecting on the idea of I think it was 3 DPS class. I saw 3 boards that were active on DPS class in Discord. The Blade Master, the Ranger, just Ranger in general, and then I think the Cleric, the Devout, I'm not Devout, but could be Devout. Let me double check. We had, the Hunter Ranger feedback, which I won't make a comment on because I don't Hunter Ranger DPS. So go find your representative Hunter Ranger DPS. And then we have, I'm just scrolling down, it's somewhere. Then we had the Blade Master Barbarian feedback, which I will make a comment about because that is something I have relevant. And then the Arbiter specifically, not the Devout. Arbiter Cleric feedback. There was one for Warden Ranger as well. And I believe so it was down to the Cleric, the Hunter, or the Ranger, sorry, the Ranger, and the Barbarian were highly active. Now today, I was specifically, over the last week, I was specifically looking at the DPS stuff. On the last week, we'll talk about whatever people talk about, the tanks, right? So for Blade Master, it seems like the consensus that I gathered from scrolling through, despite the slow-mo, is there are 2 central themes in the Blade Master thing. The idea that Blade Master's AP gain is like non-existent comparatively because during, I'm gonna assume, in combat cycles, like for Soul Harvest, for example, AP is like 1/3 or 1/4 the rate, and that's fair. And it segues into the other concern, the one of 3. The other main concern extended from that AP is Barbarian uptime. Blade Master uptime is not consistent throughout combat. It is one where there is occasional downtime or uptime in inauspicious places, right? It has less control or flow or momentum. And then obviously you have the old guard that comes in and is like, well, you just got to learn how to play, get good, and learn how to time your things and whatnot. And that's fair enough. My thought is, if they are gonna continue to compare classes together, right? Like, oh, the wizard does this, the warlock does that, the hunter does that, then that criticism is fair enough. because of the disproportionate amount of uptime and downtime that is in the rotation. Like, you could have consistent uptimes, but the consistent uptimes are dependent on the window and synchrony of the event or the task you're doing. That's not the same as having consistent uptime and flexibility from the character itself that's independent of the boss at hand or the event at hand. Other classes arguably have various multiple ways of utility enough to work around in which their uptime is flexible. Barbarians, the Blade Master specifically, may not necessarily have that uptime. So that's one of the core problems, where like, oh hey, it's either the AP factors into that because AP can reset the uptime, or it can dramatically disrupt the routine or the uptime. And then we have the other core timeless argument or debate about the shift mechanic, because ultimately Blade Master is a shift dodge mechanic with a sprint on it, and that is related to the other major comment, and that is with animation cancel. And here's where most people were on the side of, you either use the animation cancel because it's a feature, or maybe an unintended feature, perhaps a mainstay of barbarian mechanics, so it feeds into that get good narrative, or like that's the play style of barbarians, right? Blade Masters. However, it does not change how inflexible the dodge mechanic that's tied to the shift mechanic of the animation cancel. So the shift mechanic, the dodge window, like the dodge thing, can be procced by various things, even from your own kit. Like bloodletting triggers the dodge, like self damage triggers the dodge. So some of those things I think are timeless. They're still there now to this day. It's kind of like talking about a Bethesda game, really. So you can call that a feature, or you can call that a comparative lackluster dodging mechanic compared to the other classes, right? And that's kind of when the argument. But where there's animation gain, there's also dodge loss. Perhaps warlock players might be able to chime in with the other class that has the shift dodge mechanic, right? However, warlocks are optionally non-melee, right? And it's a long-standing pattern in understanding that melee characters tend to be more positional bound and dodged heavy or punished. Like the punish, as in the awareness and stuff, are heavily more punished towards melee. I was told, based on other people's comments, that Soul Harvest was less so that. So that's kind of a silver lining when a boss is designed less so punishing melee. In general, though, the track record is that because of the punishment on melee and kind of very noisy design where like a lot is going on, but it's usually in proximity, not in range. So Warlock and Blade Masters segregate based on that, despite they both have shift dodge mechanics, like this shift sprint dodge mechanics. So that leaves Blade Master with the two concerns. Uptime and quote-unquote flexibility in their kits is very restrictive, so it feels like you are at the mercy of the boss design, which if the boss was designed to the Blade Master, all the other classes can adapt to it naturally, like DPS classes. Meanwhile, when the design is to forward either any of the other DPS class, then barbarians are the ones that fall short in the uptime in the routine. So their kit is likely limited. And that's an interesting thought. because then this presents Cryptic with an exciting future consideration, and I'm looking forward to it. I haven't DPS'd in a very long time, and because there's double trials, it feels like I haven't done anything that warrants this depth of mechanical nuance or necessity, because I haven't really ran anything for like a year, because they decided the brilliant idea is to run trials back to back. So I can't really make a very tangible commentary on Blade Masters. However, my Blade Master is very different. I use a rotation that deals with Mightier Leap. It has a lower action per damage, and it has a lower action per damage, not only action per damage, but also damage per time, right? Be it DPS of seconds or rotations of the boss. And the window, it's larger. And I prefer that way because the way it's flexible is it allows me to reposition and consistently space out my actions so that the action uptime doesn't stop. That's kind of why I chose to play it that way. And I've demonstrated it a couple times over the years since the Mightier Leap mechanic was introduced. So most of my things deal with 100% uptime loop. That was done deliberately because I don't like the stop-go opportunist type of thing. I like flow, so I like kinetics, and that's why I use the Mightier Leap archetype, where it cycles nearly perfectly, and then boss mechanics obviously interrupt it. Based on how the boss mechanic is designed, which is the concern that most Blade Masters or predominant Blade who identifies as Blade Masters have concerns about, because you're at the mercy of the boss design. There's not enough flexibility in the kit to be like, oh, I can still figure out another way to have 100% uptime, or I can swap in the middle. Like, it's not taxing your skill. Your cadence gets broken and that's it. There's not like, oh, this boss is doing something else, I can immediately react to it and then rotate back into my rotation to keep the uptime. This is not true. This is held true for other DPS classes. That's why the core argument is the Blade Master is locked into something. It is possible to have smooth uptime and consistent uptime. However, there's no response and flexibility during when bosses do random things or bosses do something, and it would immediately either already decidedly make Blade Masters not fun because it breaks the cadence regardless of its limited kit, or there's no response time, so the entire like flow and momentum is broken. So the playing of the, not necessarily the efficacy, like people talk about buffs and nerfs and stuff too, effectiveness and action. It's more so the playstyle and the flexibility that allows other classes to seem really fun and adaptive, when Blade Master feels like a one-stop shop to get bopped at the mercy of the design. So I guess I can feel that. I totally do as well. Integrating Mightier Leap makes it so that it addresses a specific thing that I thought is heavily missed in Barbarian, which is repositioning without sacrificing your sprint dodge. So you can sprint dodge and reposition in your cycle every single time. So I always use like Mightier Leap out, sprint dodge if it's a range attack on me, or I Mightier Leap back in, sprint dodge in place if it's a melee attack, right? So it's a combination of two to offset what I think would be an excellent playstyle if it was embraced, you know, like quick repositioning, possibly. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm kind of excited. Now, I do want to make one segue, and it's going to be the same tune that I've been spinning the entire time during Soul Harvest 2. and maybe like the last couple years, the last couple modules, including changes like buffering, my stance continues that Neverwinter is like, I don't know, in its twilight years. It's basically in its twilight years. I'm not saying it's doomed as in it's gonna close soon. I'm saying it's aging in a manner that is natural for the game. Not like there's some catastrophic failure or something, despite all the bugs that consistently and misalignments and misannouncements that are growing in frequency, right? Like the new lockbox that came out when it's still like, it went through a lot of bugs. Despite all of that, I think Neverwinter is in its twilight years. It can get a second win, provided, in my opinion, that it decides to follow through with community growth actions and designs. That would be very dangerous gamble, I guess, because the vast majority of the people who play this game and still play this game are not new players. They are loyal old players. So having design that would cater to growth is going to likely alienate existing players. I'm not saying all of them, but a substantial amount of them, to create a backlash, right, that could risk losing the existing crowd. My thoughts, like the suggestions that people make, is that there's still the old guard, the ones that still play, they treat this game as a competitive game. Like, what I mean by competitive game is their performance competitiveness. So oftentimes whenever they provide feedback, which I'll use the Blade Master DPS as a way, you heard me say multiple times like, oh, but if I wanted to put myself in their shoes, it would be comparing the other DPS. So like Blade Master is less flexible than the other DPS, even Warlocks. And then that comparison to me is what paves the attitude that Neverwinter still has and the community that it still has. So the people who build this game, who manages this game, which are largely trying to be the same still, I think they're all like, the philosophy is still kept intact because of the whole ARC changing hands and whatnot, or ARC like buying themselves out in order to be independent again. And all the existing players, they emphasize internal performance competitiveness. So it's constantly juxtaposed to other classes. Like, oh, they identify as their class, right? For lack of a better phrasing. So when someone says, oh, why won't Blade Masters get buffed and they need this and that, it's often in comparison to looking at the grass is greener on the other side. And then there's like all these claims where like, oh, but I play all three classes. It's like, over the course of time, the one that you vigorously defend and the one that you represent and clash about is often the primary point of comparison. And comparison and juxtaposition, have-nots and haves, are what I want to address here. My tune has been different since, I don't know, since my like Undermountain, you know, my return with this type of thing since Undermountain with the whole Twitch related thing. And it's that this game is a live service game now. Like, at least in my opinion, the predominant way live service operates, it's that it's a non-competitive process. Gone are the days of PvP. However, they did try it with Slaughterhouse and it was lukewarm. So they tried again. It's not off the table. However, we can vigorously and possibly with a strong arm say that over 70 to 80% of the stuff, it's a non-competitive process. Not competitive. I'm not saying it's not competitive. It can totally still be performance-based, but it's a non-competitive environment. So PvE's success of this game is dependent on the overall competitive performance but non-competitive environment between players and themselves. Why do I say this? It's a really complicated roundabout way. I'm saying that it's not about which character or which class is better or have less. Is how can we play all the characters all the time and choose when and where to play them, because whatever we get is to the entire player. A live service model, right? Honestly, there are very few live service models where if they embrace classism, segregation, even nepotism, and a legacy, they typically struggle with community growth, community togetherness, and synergistic like well-being, helpfulness. I say this because it's such a broken record to be on Discord and read like, oh hey, we care about other players, we help other people, and then they immediately say, oh, you're just different, like you don't understand what we is, so like you're just a loner who wants to play your own game like a live service game, and you don't know what it's like to help people through their dungeons and trials. And that, to me, I said this last time, that's exactly the attitude that I would not trust someone. Like, if you're saying, oh, you are really kind and you help people, and then at the same time you're arguing that you don't help people as well, like your argument is, oh, well, we don't help people who are different than us, we don't help people that don't agree with us. That's exactly what I mean by it's a competitive performance environment. Like, oh, I could complete the dungeon and I could complete the trial in my selective agreeable group, and then whenever we help people who agree with us, that counts as being kind and nice and non-competitive. That's like hypocritical. Now, I'm not saying it's bad or good. I think this is the reality. Whenever someone says, oh yeah, you know, we're nice, we like playing this game, like helping people, it's like, no, you help people that agree with you. You don't help people when they disagree with how you're helping people or playing the game. When someone says, hey, why can't I like to play normals and get rid of the tier system, like the tiering system that creates segregation, and like, why does it matter that someone is tiered higher than another person because they want to separate themselves from the group? That's classism, it's nepotism, and it's performance-based competition. It makes it so that it's okay to say, oh, you're kind and you help people, but no, it's you help people who you selectively decided that will be successful. So like people who like to play the game, you select for those people who like to play the game the way you do. So that's not technically being nice, or that's technically not being nice, but selectively kind. So I'm willing to concede that you are kind enough to want to play a game that is kind to people who disagree with for people who agree with you. But that's not the same as being nice. Nice is indiscriminate. It is dealing with an environment that if the server wins, if everyone clears the boss more, then everyone gets rewarded. Even if they're sleeping and doing nothing, it is still a reward for them. That is like, it kind of sounds a little bit like a distribution of reward, but they are in the game, they're playing the game, and the game has uptime. Now you might be thinking, then wouldn't it just then promote a bunch of communities of lazy people who are there to get a free handout and they don't do anything? It's like, but that's the way they want to play the game. So if you're truly like, oh, we always help people, and you like that more people just lounge around, or like more people have access to this game and like to play the game, then saying that and then saying, oh, only certain people should play the game, only certain people, because if it's okay to be lazy in the game, it also means that they're not playing the game right. Right? These are double standards consistently. And where is this all going? To me, live service games, they address laziness, quote unquote, laziness, or parasites is the word that gets thrown around, or leeching, that gets thrown around a lot. And it's a common discussion in rewards and making things easier or making things harder, or performance based. Those things are often addressed by making it so that everyone, like, encouraging people to constantly want to play the game. So if you have leeching and you have parasites, one could also argue that's a reflection of either hierarchy, nepotism, classism, or it can also be argued about the inaccessibility of the material and the content and the selective privilege that you need to play the content. All of those things actually contribute to the whole idea of leeching and parasites and needing to have like performance reviews, you know, like a trial boss or something that forces people to reach merits in order to gain privilege for that. That's fair. This is all of this stuff exists in Neverwinter and more. For me, when I think about live service, they treat it by having you accessible to everything. And why is accessible to everything an interesting concept? Because in live service, you want a lot of game time. So you model all your quality of life things around, like the recent patch, to where a player not only does not identify, you discourage a player to identify as one class, one character, or even one paragon of one class, and have this bickering of whose class is less balanced and whose class. All of them are your classes. That's classism. The game has been built in a way that is anti or not resonating with live service games. Live service games mean the longer you play, the more all of your class, you as the player, will have more things to do. So if you have, I forgot how many classes there are, like 9 classes. If a player sees as I am all 9 classes, then their comparison would be, what class is in trend? What class is trendy right now? I'll play that class. What class had a change? I'll play that class. What class is trendy now? I'll play that class. That is kind of how live service works. Live service tend to be, like, I'm not saying it's the only way, but currently the most popular way or the trendy way is that nearly everything a player does is horizontally transferred. As in, if you are successful on your paladin, it's going to feel like every other class is also successful. So you can swap between them and still viable. You don't have to wait and be locked out of accessibility because you suddenly choose a different class. That is horizontal viability across the board. It's not the same, in my opinion, as balancing. Balancing is where this Neverwinter has become, in my opinion, the biggest crutch. That it's both Neverwinter's crutch and also its glass ceiling. When it comes to feedback, it's constantly about what should be kept reined in and balanced. So you're like spinning the wheel. You're looking at water. You're looking at a bottle of water, and you're trying to figure out how to spin the bottle of water as many ways as possible so that it's balanced between the classes. As opposed to when you get a live service game, when they announce something, it's just different. Like, oh, hey guys, next class that's going to be trendy is all the paladins. All the paladins are going to get a new style, and it's just added. There you go. Enjoy. Next time, stay tuned for our next module. Warlocks are going to get a new tree. Next module, rangers are going to get a new tree. So how is that fair or unfair? Because the players identify as everything in the game. They don't identify as classes. I mean, it's basically racism in a bottle, in a very hot take. where like, oh man, warlocks got all the attention last time. Why can't barbarians get the attention because I'm a barbarian player? Or why can't you can play all of them? And the live service models typically support that. This recent patch would suggest that maybe Cryptic is open to that, where they would continue to push forth for the quality of life changes, where when you succeed in one place, it means you're encouraged to play everything else. It's not, oh, Blade Masters need to get buffed and changed so that they're in line with wizards and clerics, arbiters, like 1 note, and they need more notes in order to keep up with warlocks. It's more like, what's the next new thing? What am I going to play? If the next new thing is X, I'm going to play X. Live service models, the next patch, these characters are getting changed. Okay, I'm playing those characters. And how are you going to play those characters? All my resources still go to those characters. Like the next big thing, you know, like League of Legends, for example, the next champion is going to come out. Of course, it's going to be overtuned. Everyone's going to play that champion as much as they can. And then it's going to get retuned, refined, and then they wait for the next one. Marvel Rivals. Hey, it's a new character. Everyone's going to try to play that new character. And then that's the excitement. In Neverwinter, it's more like, oh, what are we going to lose now? Because we're going to balance it. Like, my first thought when it comes to Blade Master, all the feedback is like, oh, we can't, like, give Blade Master too many things. If we gave them too many things, then the warlocks would complain. Or the rangers would complain. It's like, but we want them all to be like competitively balanced for performance. For what? It's a live like, honestly, I'm being very direct about for what? So that the community succeeds in a balanced way, as opposed to the community just simply want to succeed. So my first thought, and again, back in mod 13, not even like after the first year or two, it became the question of how can we gain access to all the classes and then look forward to every single change or addition, versus someone who says, oh, I don't have time, so I'm only going to play barbarian, I'm only going to play paladin, and then over a couple years they start identifying as that class. So then when you ask for feedback, they consistently compare classes as though they need to balance them in a way that, because if they don't balance them around the class that they like, then it would be unfair. It would be unbalanced. And to me, there's so much resources, in my opinion, and attention, disproportionately more attention placed on the balance of a non-competitive game. It's a live service, predominantly a live service PvE game. And then the dialogue isn't about how hard, how many ways we can win. It's about bickering about who wins more and who loses more. So then the developer, in my opinion, gets incentivized to not change anything. They get incentivized to constantly spin and polish the same wheel that they had for over a decade now. We're like, oh, we're just gonna slightly comfortably tweak this and tweak that because we don't want to like power creep something and then make warlocks better than everything else. Then everyone's gonna say like, it's the same gameplay, it's the warlocks again, we didn't get anything new, no spanking, it's just now it favors this. And then every time they build a new boss or a new trial, it's a competition of saying, oh, this boss is built for wizards, that's why wizards get all the attention. It's like, all of you guys are wizards, every single player is a wizard. But that's not how Neverwinter works as a live service model. Players identify as their classes. So when a trial comes up, you'll satisfy all the wizards if your boss favors wizards. If your mechanic is favoring a barbarian, then you'll miff all the players that aren't barbarians. If it's okay with all the tanks, then you'll miff the healers and the DPS. It's constantly classes, as opposed to players simply identifying with, oh, we'll do whatever it is to be successful, because any new addition in the game, however crazy it is, it's a win for PvE. So when you release a new like, I'm not sure if developers think this way, maybe it's their intent, but balance is not live service, in my opinion. Balance is the antithesis of live service. Live service is non-competitive. A competitive game that runs on microtransactions, which I honestly still refer to as live servers, a competitive game that runs on microtransactions is what this game is trying to be whenever it comes out. Like, oh, hey, we're releasing a new boss, and we needed to design the boss so that all the classes have an equal chance or good enough chance to be successful. That, to me, kudos to Cryptic, honestly, for upholding that like philosophy for so long. And the community that's still around who tries to constantly keep yourself in a box to like refine and make everything balanced. My first thought is that is really great in a competitive process, in a competitive performance process. It's not, in my opinion, that awesome to be excited for it, right? It is the answer to the grind and the mid and the non-excitability. If you're constantly balancing things, then there is lack of exploration, conceptual exploration, horizontal discoveries, emergent properties. All of them would throw the balance out of whack. Like introducing a new class will throw things out of whack. So like when the bard was introduced, it took like the next 3 or 4 modules and a disproportionate amount of effort to balance the bard into all the classes. And I'm like, no, the bard do what the bard pleases. That's kind of the idea behind live service. You sell the next thing you're releasing. Anything is a new thing and everyone has access to it. But no, this game continues, in my opinion, to try to lock people in to a specific thing. Like, oh, your best character is the only character that will be equipped to tackle the new material like the way you like. Instead of, hey, next module, warlocks are getting the spotlight. Everyone go play a warlock. And you're like, well, then how are you going to do the tank and healer thing? It's like, well, we're going to make bosses and mechanics revolve around not needing a healer or maybe like just healers and DPS, because our showcase is warlocks. We want to create a boss that specifically highlights what we're adding. Warlocks are healers and DPS. Next module, go grab your warlock. Everyone, go grab your warlock. Everything's new about the warlock. It's the new thing. Then the next time, hey guys, we're doing a tank overhaul. Everyone go play a tank. And we have 3 times. We're going to modify the paladin, the fighter, and the barbarian. And all the content is framed around those 3 characters because those are the 3 new things. And everyone should be able to play them because you're playing a live service game. You have access to everything. Nothing is off limits. And slowly, in my opinion, and that's my hot take, slowly, in my opinion, it becomes like other live service games where you want it all. You want to play it all. You're not there saying, oh, Ranger is the only fun part about this game, or I only play Neverwinter because Barbarian's cool, but since they don't ever release any Barbarian things, I'm out of here because they keep releasing, oh, the next patch is about Rangers. I don't care. That's classist. And that's the old model. That's the remaining model based on like World of Warcraft in the earlier days where you invest in a singular character, right? Live service playtime goes up when you're not identified and restricted to one thing. When I play, like when I log in, for example, and this isn't to reflect everyone else, when I log into Persona 5, like Persona 5 Phantom X, it's not even quote unquote an MMORPG, and I still feel like I'm playing with everyone else because everyone else has ideas about everything that I have and everything that they have. Like, all the characters in the game, every time they release something, if you get it and if you buy it, it's still that same character. So everyone's sharing ideas about the same thing. When you go into the Neverwinter Discord, it's more like, oh, this guy plays Blade Master. They know what they're talking about. Or I played Blade Master. I know what I'm talking about. You sound like someone you don't play Blade Master. Or you don't play Barbarian. Oh, look at your profile. It says that you have 1,000 hours in Warlock. There's no way you could have been a Blade Master. That is classist. I mean, again, in a conservative way, it's discrimination based on nepotism, like legacy, and racism, right? And it reflects that because the game is designed so that they segregate all those things. Like when you drop a loot, for example, a loot, you don't have to roll and greed anymore, so that's nice. It's a live service, live service thing. But when the loot drops and then a warlock weapon drops, it's like, I don't even play warlock. What the heck? Why can't I exchange the warlock for a paladin weapon? That's not even in the game, where you can exchange in order to get the person accessible to their class. So it's segregation even based on loot system. Despite his individual loot, when you get like your 10th paladin weapon and you're a rogue, it makes you feel bad because the game is classist, right? It's segregated. You can't repurpose any of those classes, racist loot systems to make it so that it encourages a player to play everything. And hear me out, they have a system for it. You make it all currency based, and that common currency is selectively used. Like you can just dump, in my opinion, a very, very hot take. If you dumped all of the weapon drops and have them produce currency, and then those currency are used to go to a shop to buy any of the weapons that would outfit any of your characters and any of your class, in my opinion, obviously you still need to do it. That's worth a module or two of experimentation. I would argue that playtime goes up. There's no convoluted task of, oh, what are the odds and the greed rolls and common class that would drop certain things. You remove all of that stereotyping, racist classes looting system, because that's an extra layer of luck that you need. Like, oh, I hope the weapon for my class that I like the most drops more often. No, all the currency. Like, you gradate the currency, as in sometimes you get less currency, sometimes you get more currency. You still get the same gacha, like the gacha loot feel. Sometimes when you crush a boss really hard, you get like 10 currency. If you crush the boss even harder, you get 15 currency. If you like really slacked off and struggled, you get 2 currency. But it's still the same currency. So you can still do the tiering system for performance based on currency output. But that currency goes to every single class. It goes to every single thing that is purchased based on the person's overall performance. So for me, if I had a hot take for an entire module overhaul, is to temporarily abolish different classes looting system. They are going to be class agnostic, and to get the currency is based on average performance per time. So if you're like rocking it hard, then you're gonna get them, but their game time is gonna still go up because they are more incentivized to hoard currency to outfit every single class. It's no longer like, oh man, I just spent like 100 runs and 80 of the runs deal with classes that I don't like or don't have. Well, now they get to choose. So the 100 runs convert to a specific amount of currency, and they go to the shop and they decide, which class am I going to play next? They buy those things. It's like, oh yeah, I need to experiment with those. That's live service. in my opinion. That is golden, real live service. It's to the point where you can then sell that currency. You can literally sell that currency per the module, and you can still keep the unique currency per each module thing. I mean, it's kind of, in my opinion, slightly dubious and frankly tasteless when you constantly introduce a new currency that's not retroactively interacting with previous currency for a new module. But I kind of get it. You can sell it then, because now all the currency is tied to every class. So it's kind of a quality of life change to abolish classism. And then when you get feedback, in my opinion, when someone asks, hey, let us get your feedback on warlocks, I would argue that after a year or two, the question would be how much fun things people can do for the warlock as feedbacks versus, oh, who's winning out and who's losing out. Because right now, when I'm reading DPS stuff, which DPS is the large majority of debate because performance is, tanks and healers are non-competitive in this game inherently. So whatever happens, even within that, there's still competition. Like the fighter is doing a little better, the sentinel is doing a little worse, or like the paladin, the Justicar is doing a little worse. It still does that, and then like this healing is better than this healing, but not better than this, right? I will talk about that next week, about the people who are comparing and contrasting tanks. However, for now, it's often infighting. If it's not infighting, it's one person fighting with themselves. Like, oh, I really don't want to step on those warlock DPS's foot, but I wish my favorite Blade Master gets more TLC. It's more so how many things can be fun in the future. If I were to compare surveys and whatnot, a live service game, the most frequent feedback that people give, in my opinion, in surveys of successful live service games is what they're looking for next. Like, oh, hey, you know what? We don't really like this part. Can you give us more of this? We need more of this. Can we have more of this? Oh, you know what's a fun thing? Doing this instead. It's not, oh, wait, but okay, if we do this, it would be unfair to other players. And if we do this, it would be unfair to this specific type of player. No, whatever you do, whatever feedback you have that you look forward to, everyone benefits. That's not how I feel whenever, in my opinion, maybe someone else will come by and have a better hot take than I do. When you're legitimately reading any form of feedback in the Neverwinter Discord or even in chats and like sitting here in PE, it's constantly a infighting competition. Like, oh, this person's lazy and they get reward while I'm not lazy. I'm like, well, you can be lazy too. It's like, no, but if I be lazy, I'm gonna be like that person. That person is not like me. I'm better than that person. So whatever remaining community this game has, it's constantly being splintered whenever a feedback forum comes up or a bug comes up or something. It's like, oh, people are abusing this, so those people are bad people. I'm not a bad person. Or I perform better. I'm better at this class. All the people who are making comments about how they're not good at this class, or like they're making comments about how this class doesn't perform very well, they're just bad people. They're bad performers. They are not as skilled as I am. So to me, if you're like someone who's like I guess I'm gonna call like name Kyrie, whoever that's managing the community on the Discord, if they want togetherness, I mean, when I look at a forum or any of the official like feedback forums, I specifically just see a bunch of people yelling at each other and like passively aggressively attacking each other, defeating their opinions, trivializing the opinions, and condescension is at a max. It's kind of like, oh, hey, oh, you thought that was a great idea? That's a stupid idea, in a like a very polite way. Like, oh, that's just you not knowing how to play. Oh, that's you because you don't understand that this is an MMORPG and you're treating it like not an MMORPG. That's kind of the dialogue, and I wish I was brushing with euphemisms, but what I'm saying is a replacement for the euphemism. Like it's already using euphemisms. There are more conversations than that. There are just people calling each other stupid, or that they're ignorant, or they just want to be spoiled. It's ad hominem arguments constantly back and forth. Like someone would say, hey, can barbarians just like fly around and do crazy things, like yell and stuff? These are great ideas. And then someone comes in and is like, man, you don't play barbarian correctly, do you? Like, this will throw the balance off and this will miss something. It's like, that doesn't sound like fun. I don't want to change the way I'm playing. That's how it feels. Change the tune to like Genshin Impact or Honkai, and I know they're not MMORPGs. Some people don't consider them MMORPGs. That's fine. It's always us and them for those individuals. But for anyone for someone who can resonate with me, I hope everyone wins every time a patch comes up. It's not a compensation or a balance. Like, oh, hey, the currency cost went down. That's a good balance so that some people can win now because they cost less. I'm like, it's always a win when you're playing a game. As a developer, in my opinion, or a publisher, whenever you release something, it should be a W, right? You're aiming for it to consistently be a W. When you say module 33 is coming out, everyone, in my opinion, the ideal case is everyone would flock to your website and look at all the upcoming additions to the game. And those additions to the game affects everyone positively, because everyone will likely be saying, I can do that and I can play that, because whatever I do will lead to the growth of me as a player that have access to the entire game. Not, oh, okay, that next module, they still didn't fix the bug of my favorite class, so I don't want to play the next module. Or, oh, hey, look, it's another trial, and trial means that I don't fulfill these things, so it doesn't concern me, and half of it's lukewarm. That's kind of what's happening to me in terms of how I feel whenever people talk about Neverwinter. It's like, oh, hey, next module, it's a dungeon, let's get excited. But even the dungeon is not that exciting, because what you have to look forward to is, how is it not going to benefit you? How is it not going to make you relevant? Are they going to make the master tier so overtuned for a very specific class, and that class happens to be the class that you play? Then it's irrelevant. For me, when a new level, when a new live service game comes out, everyone wants to play it because it's relevant to everyone. It's accessible to everyone, right? When the new banner drops in any of the gacha games, it's like, oh, hey, should I pull this guy? And it's always a consideration. But while you're deciding whether you're going to pull this guy, buy that loot box or something, your first thought is, oh, but I will always be able to play the content, and that content will be relevant to everything else. And that's cool. And what is keeping, in my opinion, what is the greatest thing that's normalizing, keeping it from that happening, is everyone who wants balance, classism to exist, tier system to exist, and somehow they feel more special when whatever they do makes them more special than other people. And that's fair enough. And that's probably the thought that I want to leave on. It would be interesting what Cryptic is going to do in the future. I think the most likely case is they're going to continue going down a path and getting feedback that preserves tiers, hierarchies, nepotism, classism, and racism. That's the way to create segregation. It's a way to create a community of good players, mid players, normal players, good player, master players, advanced players, and normal players. and then normal players are live service casuals, and then the master class are the old guard who likes performance-based competition, right? And they're going to continue to bridge that. At least that's the most sobering and realistic thing. The reason why it's true is because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more feedback you get from people who want to think of it as segregation and tiers, is the idea that you have to consistently balance things. So when you consistently balance things, most changes are this small, right? Because if you make large changes, it will throw off the system. It will imbalance the stuff. Live service games embrace the imbalancing, right? They're like, hey, the next spanking new thing, don't miss out. It's on FOMO. I understand FOMO is often viewed as a bad thing, right? Because unregulated, it can cause habitual playing and addiction. To a developer, in my opinion, or a publisher, that's actually a winning strategy, because you have players constantly coming back saying, oh, I need to stay updated. Oh, I need to stay updated. And I'm not, obviously, I'm overlooking some moral and potentially predatory practices, so bear in mind, take it with a grain of salt. The idea is Neverwinter lacks not even like a minutia of that excitement. Like when you hear module 33, you don't hear what are they going to add to the game that I'm going to play around with. It's more like when mod 33 comes out, I hope they release something that is related to my class and the things that I hold important, otherwise I'm skipping it. That's how Neverwinter is perceived, at least in my opinion. Oh, are they going to release something that will replace my existing gear? Otherwise, it's not important to me. Usually when someone has a healthy, a developer and a publisher that has healthy, both the developers are healthy enough, in my opinion, with creative liberties, whatever they create, it's an addition to the game and people are excited about it. At the same time, it's never like taking things away from the players. So it's a win-win. And then the publishers are like, we need more game time. They need to play more games and play our game more and stay in our game. All of the above. You can get it by removing the quality of life that deals with constantly spinning the same wheel and polishing the same wheel. Like, that's what happens when you're constantly adding new classes and then things get out of whack. There's like crazy unbalanced mechanics, but everyone just keeps winning harder. That's kind of the idea. And obviously there's some restraint to it. You don't have to, it's not all or none. However, right now Neverwinter is like more like all on the one side and none on the other side, in my opinion. It might as well be negligible. You don't get excited because there aren't new classes, which will throw off all the balancing. So it's constantly going to cap the creative nature. If you introduce a new class, oh, that's way too hard because the whole philosophy is to keep everything in balance. So no, we're not going to release a new class. It's going to throw all the balance off and everyone's going to get angry about it. Yeah, because it's normalized to expect balance. Like, oh, let's introduce a third paragon to a class. It's like, but what about all the other classes? It's like, with time. But that wouldn't be what it's going to look like. It's going to say, well, oh, of course they're going to add a third paragon to Paladin. Because Paladin needs a DPS class. D&D rules, and we're weighing like Wizard of the Coast being angry with that and all that stuff. I'm talking about the idea that when you add something, it's constantly restricted by balance because it's not fair to people who don't care about it. And when you log into a live service game, a successful live service game, in my opinion, any change applies to every player. Any change and addition is equal opportunity for every player. So when when people hear, oh man, there's a third paragon that's gonna be added to Ranger, everyone's gonna say like, oh, let's start planning, guys. Let's all brainstorm how all of us are going to play the new Ranger paragon together. No, it's going to be, oh, it's a Ranger. I play a Warlock, so wow, that's not exciting. And it's like, oh man, and it's tied to resources, because you're gonna say, oh, I play Warlock the longest and all my resources are locked in Warlocks, so I don't care about a Ranger third paragon. That's kind of what Neverwinter is. You sit there, you wait, and you get rattled with your hopium. I don't rattle with my hopium, I just go and play other games until like maybe something interesting happens, right? And my interest is how people talk about it outside of the game. So I rarely ever say, hey, everyone's playing DPS because Soul Harvest 2 favors, like, it's more dynamic in DPS. It's like, okay, like, I don't have to play DPS. I can just rant about things all day long and then play P5X or something like that, right? Life is also, you know, bigger than the game, but the game could take more shares of your life if it had more accessibility. This game does not at the moment. It is kind of nice to see that there might be some wiggle room. I think the recent patch, it's kind of nice. And so far, like, for example, companions, the last like 2 or 3 years, constant focus on balancing companions. Like, oh, this companion is being balanced, we want to make this companion in line with the other companions, and this companion in line with the other companions. They release new companions and it's like overtuned. It's like, oh wait, hey wait guys, we're gonna spend the next like module trying to put this companion in line with the other companion. That's the philosophy of Cryptic historically, and that's interesting. Is it a model, in my opinion, that supports live service? Not really. I think it's I think it's antagonistic largely to live service, because it's no longer interesting when you constantly introduce rebalances and be restricted to how you can design bosses. And then the most unpopular thing is to shrink the efficacy of all your systems, which happened, by the way. It was like the reduction to level 20 and all the like the numbers, and then slow down the game in order to be able to design new bosses. Yeah, it's pretty rough when you're constantly playing the balancing game. And that, to me, I want to say it's admirable. It's incredibly impressive. I actually, sometimes it's more entertaining for me to look at Neverwinter as a black sheep in terms of live service design, to talk about how what a live service game looks like and feels like when balance is the priority and not fun and playstyle and accessibility. Other live service games, they are nearly so addictive, for better or for worse, so addictive because every single time they keep pushing more things and make it so that it feels really bad if you miss a beat, because every addition is accessible to everyone. This game, you can skip things. You can like, next module, it's a trial, I can skip it. I'll just catch right up the following trial, because most things are balanced. So if they're balanced, they don't go off the walls. So one time when there was a spike in Neverwinter's like play on old content, or maybe a couple times, but the one big spike, Ring of Wind, or whatever it's called, the thing when hardcore Vault got a ring that was like outrageously overperforming, playtime just spiked like crazy. That's live service. The new thing, the current thing, is gonna spike playtime. And then you horizontally build, constantly horizontally build. The next module maybe new shirt slots, and then another subsystem every 2 modules, and they would be the new buzz because you're accumulating. Here, it's more like, oh, what are you replacing? Right? What are you replacing? Are they going to take away your fun? Are they going to tweak your, for the record, in this patch, Lysera, the companion, got nerfed. Technically got nerfed. I looked at the numbers. I'm not going to go over the details because I'm not interested in vertical progression, or, you know, decrease, debuff, and nerfs, but it ultimately got nerfed. And people, like, that's what I mean. They spent a bunch of resources talking about, oh, we're gonna tweak this companion, and then ultimately it ends up being, oh, it either got nerfed or not nerfed, and that sucks. It doesn't really do anything. Like, what I mean is, it doesn't help getting excited or interesting. Most of the time it's negative. You're severely disabled, you have hard time to play, you cannot do hard dungeons and trials. I'm sorry to hear that, Connor. There are quite a lot of other games that kind of are more friendlier for severely disabled, unless you really like Neverwinter. I am not sure about your motivations, but generally speaking, I don't see that changing anytime soon. My commentary is that live service is driven by accessibility. It's not driven by classism and elitism. That's not to say that the majority that still plays Neverwinter enjoys that. I myself don't necessarily enjoy that, so I'm not going to say anything about it. Like, what I mean is, I'm not going to tell other people to not enjoy being, like, high performing and stuff. You guys are most definitely, those individuals, they're entitled to whatever they choose, and if they speak louder, if they care more, they're going to speak and present their case more often to Cryptic and others, and then Cryptic and others will choose to either embrace them or embrace, that's kind of funny, sorry, embrace a group. They're gonna follow their nod. My commentary still stands. Like, I don't think it's bad or good. It's kind of interesting to see where this goes. So that's gonna be a wrap for today. So in terms of Blade Master thing, right? I'm going back to my commentary on the Blade Master feedback. Blade Master, the DPS side is going to be required to balance. You know, Cryptic is going to take the balance approach, in my opinion, to how they can equalize and bring up the Blade Master with regards to the other thing, and then maybe Arbiter will get more variety as well to either bring down the major Arbiter playstyle, which I know a little bit about, and then offer an alternative. The Sentinel we'll talk about in week 10 because we're going to talk about tanks and their playstyles. And the idea is, my fingers are crossed that Cryptic decides to introduce a new playstyle balanced with the existing playstyle as to not trigger anyone who says favoritism and whatnot. And then hopefully maybe leave room for some experimentation, like a new power or a literally new subsystem. I think new subsystems is great. It's been a long time since I've seen a new subsystem in Neverwinter. It's what keeps live service games very exciting whenever they're like, oh, hey guys, we have a new mode or something like that. That's a Hail Mary ask. So for myself, it's probably going to be something very relatively balanced, conservative, as to not irk the current balance of things and like the social order in Neverwinter. You cannot get no one to help you quest, etc. You solo everything best you can. Well, I hope you enjoy doing that. That's what video games are for, right? So I'm gonna end with that comment. I hope that moving forward, most of the modules are a win for everyone. Right now, it feels like it's like 20% W's and 80% infighting. So community doesn't even feel like it's together. When they provide feedback, it rarely feels like it's together. Reading like forums of other places, it's like, more fun, please, more things. Can you guys do and make more things? Here's some money. We need more things. And then, you know, the big whales would be like, all right, these guys said they want more things. Here's another 10,000 on us. That's kind of how I feel when I play other live service games. The ones that are proactively in Creative Town, not in Balance Town, right? And if you want to play a competitive game, obviously, go pick up a competitive game. This is a non-competitive PvE live service game. So until it dramatically changes, I don't think it's reasonable to call it anything else at the moment. Until now, that's a wrap for week 9. If you're gonna watch this later, thank you. You're always welcome, right? To follow along, pick up Neverwinter for yourself, give it a try. Come on by, present your counter arguments about why Neverwinter needs infighting and competitive process in order to make a better Neverwinter community. I'm all ears. I would love to see how producing more tiers and segregating the tiers even further, and then bolstering like specificity as opposed to account wide things, and like spreading all the resources so that everything's accessible. How not doing that will elevate the Neverwinter community in a way and bring the Neverwinter community together, because I don't necessarily think that is. A great example is fashion. Fashion is, it breaks down the accessibility factor, because fashion is also subjective, right? That's a great, it was an event that was happening, but then there was like the whole Europe versus NA situation. Still a lot more open. So feel free, come on by or share your favorite live service game, I suppose, that does what I think live service thrives on, which is accessibility and togetherness, in the sense that everyone shares ideas about the same accessibility. Not, I don't do trials, so whatever you say is irrelevant, but I only like trials, so what I say is only relevant to trials, and whatever you say is not. That's kind of what Neverwinter does. I play Barbarian, so I could care less about wizard updates, etc. Right? I don't think that's kind of the flavor that really makes live service shine. The live service things I think shine are, here's the 100th content creator that shared their run using the same 30 characters, but their run seems very different because the game is so unhinged and complex, because there are so many subsystems. Every run seems different. So now you have like hundreds, thousands of permutations of the same content, but because everyone has access to it, they all don't look alike, right? And then everyone brainstorms, they constantly feed on each other's feedbacks. That's kind of what I think Neverwinter community could be, but I don't think that's the case. Anyways, until next time, stay safe, stay content, or try to be happy, enjoy, and I'll catch you guys for the last wrap up next week, right? Another week. Take care. Stay safe, stay healthy, game responsibly, right? See you later, guys. Bye bye.